Hello, 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 beautiful people. Well, it's your girl, Naima Darrow, coming to you once again. I wanted to discuss submission. I woke up this morning and after having a dream about, I'm not going to give the whole dream, but I'll just give this little short bit because I don't fully know what the dream is dealing with, but it could be soulish. Who knows? I haven't tried to decode it. I've thought about it and pondered over it for a little second, but that's about it before having to get up and get things going. But I was, I don't know who this guy was, but anyway, it was this guy. Apparently, I don't know if we were dating or what. I think we were dating, or when I say dating, I mean like in the phase of trying to get to know each other. And he was, had just brought an expensive car. I don't know what kind of car it was. Didn't see the car. All I know it was just an expensive car. And apparently he could not afford the car. And so it was as if like, I don't know, it's like there were times when it was like I was looking in on a dream and then there were times where I was in it. It's kind of weird, but anyway, he was on the phone with the people who sold him the car, and there was supposed to be this money that he was supposed to get to them, like a lump sum of down payment. And he was on the phone with them and he was just saying how, yeah, he understand. He know he's been irresponsible, and he know he has to do better. But he's serious. He do have the money. He just didn't take all the necessary steps to get the money to them, and that was just long. And it was like I was in the car trying to do something in my car. It's not the car that I naturally drive now, but the car that I had in this dream, I was tending to finding something, straightening up the car, something of that nature. And so I can hear him talking. And I remember by this time I got to the front seat and I was going through some things in the glove compartment. I kept thinking like, how can what is he planning to do? Like, he's not responsible. He's irresponsible, and he's, making a lot of excuses, because that's what I kept hearing, like a lot of excuses on the phone. And then I was like, what is he going to do? Can he afford this car? Should it be something that he's send back? I know I kept thinking to myself that he really couldn't afford it. Apparently he can't afford it, but and so why is he continuing to put himself through this? And he's like he had the sad face while he was talking to the guy on the phone, and the guy was saying whatever to him, and it was like the guy too was kind of just giving him some life lessons and things to think about, as far as responsibility wise. And he didn't really want to hear a lot of what the guy was saying. It was like, how when you're getting good advice, but you just don't want to hear it. It's like, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just not there yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying. It was kind of like that situation. So I'm still, messing around in the car, and then he was like, I got some good news. He came. It was like, I have some good news. I was like, oh, yeah. What is it? Because I was expecting that, the car was going to be towed or repossessed or whatever. And he was like, he's going to let me keep the car. And so I was thinking like, I don't know if this is good news or bad news. But the seller, wanted to give him another opportunity and another chance. And then the dream left to, because I knew I had to go with a friend somewhere. And next thing you know, I was with the friend. And so I'm not going to go into the rest of the dream. But needless to say, so I woke up, and as I was just pondering and thinking about the dream a little bit to try to get an understanding of what it meant, I just kind of went back to that portion of the dream. And I was just thinking about submission. And I was like, a lot of women don't like the word submission, because a lot of things, there have been times I hear women say, I'm not submitting to that. I'm not submitting to a man doing this. I'm not submitting to that. If he can't do this, he can't do that. Why would I submit to that? And I remember talking to someone recently who was saying that, like, I can't submit to a guy who's not responsible. I can't submit to a guy who's not taking care of his responsibilities, don't take care of his home, barely, he's not treating me with the respect that I feel that I deserve, And so it was things like that. And I said, well, that wouldn't be somebody you would marry anyway. And a lot of times I hear women say, I'm not submitting to that. I'm not submitting. And my response is, you shouldn't, because it shouldn't be anybody you marry. And then you will hear women say, I'm not submitting to this. I'm not submitting to. Well, don't marry that person. And I think sometimes we forget that it's just as simple as that. Now, getting with someone who appears to have had their thing and stuff all together, and they just flat out totally deceive you through, deceit and manipulation and all this other things. I mean, he have to be really, really good. It has to be a master of his to be able to do that to you. Because in order for you to marry somebody or be comfortable with marrying somebody, you want to have asked questions. You want to have dated the person. You want to have vetted them. I hate to make it sound like it's a job interview. Are you going for some political position? But that's what you have to do when you're wanting to marry somebody. You don't just jump into a relationship or to a marriage or a full-term commitment with someone that you haven't taken the time out to get to know. And these days, women don't ask questions. Don't ask no kind of questions. It's just, okay, if a man says something to me, I expect that he is prepared for this, that, and the other. And there's this frustration towards men because women feel like he's approaching me, but he's not ready. And this is the thing. You're going to get approached by men who are not ready for a relationship. That's just the nature of the beast called life. That's just the nature of the beast of attraction. It's what it is. We get so stuck in ideas and the way we think things are supposed to go, and we're stuck there instead of facing and living in reality. Y'all, reality exists. It is life. It is what you're going to face. But if you try to stick and live in an idea, you're going to be frustrated. It is frustration city. And so expect frustration if you're not going to embrace reality. And reality is, just because a man approaches you and show interest doesn't mean he's ready to be your husband. It doesn't mean he's ready to be a committed partner. It does not mean that he is ready to be your leader. It does not mean that he is already a responsible person. It does not even mean that he has matured into being a man. He might have the age of a man, but he might not have the responsibility, the characteristics of a man. And you have to know that. You have to be mindful of that. You have to look for that. Look for man qualities, not boy qualities, hoping that you can change him or he will change himself into being a man. If he's not a man when you meet him, then it's going to take time. It's going to take work and effort. And if you're not ready for that, if you can't be with this man without catching attitudes, without being frustrated, without talking down to him, without catching attitudes with him because he's not doing this or that, or not without getting mad with him all the time, that is not somebody you should be with. Why put yourself through that just because you're able to say, I have a man, or because you're able to say, I have somebody that I sleep next to, but y'all can't even have a decent life together outside of being in the bed with each other? And then, ladies, like, don't try to deceive me because I'm a woman. I've been there and done that. Eventually, if he can't show up a man while y'all are in the relationship and outside of the bedroom is not even going to be exciting. Yes, he can please you, but you're not going to be pleased if you don't respect him as a man. So why put yourself through that? You are not going to look like you're something in somebody just because you have a man. Like who's impressed by that? Nobody. I'm not impressed. The next woman not impressed. And you obviously are not impressed. So don't try to bring this image, put this image of who you are because you have a man, because you want to compete against your sister or whoever, and say you have a man. Y'all will be doing yourself disjustice because nobody cares that you have a man or not. And when I say nobody cares, I'm saying it in the vein of you competing just to have a man on your side. Because some women do that. Some women just choose whatever just to say they have somebody so they can outdo the next woman. And then you put yourself in a position where you're losing. The woman who don't have a man is winning, but you losing because you're miserable with a man by your side. Think about that. Now, I love y'all, but we got to do better. I'm going to say that again. I love y'all, sisters, but we got to do better. Like this competition and this jealousy that women hold one against for one another, it is ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense to allow the devil to influence you in such a way and you think you're somebody. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I don't agree with it. Maybe I do understand. We're people. We're human. It's just what it is. And because there seems to be a lack of available men or good men, it's like it's a dangerous world out here when you start thinking about it along those lines, because people want relationship. And sometimes what it is, they call it a dog eat dog world. That's exactly sometimes how women be acting. But y'all, we gotta do better. My sisters, SISTAS, my sisters, do you hear me? We have to do better, y'all. We gotta do better. It's time to do better, okay? Now, submission. You're going to submit to somebody. You're going to submit to your job, the authority on your job. You're going to submit to church order. You're going to submit to any type of organizational structure of anything that you're a part of. You're submitting to that. And number one, you should be submitting to God. That's who you should be submitting to. So, if you are submitting to God, then guess what? You should be willing to submit to your husband. Now, I don't agree with a woman submitting to a man who is not her husband. I don't agree with a woman to submitting to a man who has not thought of her enough to submit a correction to commit to her. So, no, you should not just be submitting to any man. So when somebody starts talking to you about submission, don't start thinking about the generalized group of men that you would be submitting to, because that's not the case. Who you worry about submitting to is your husband. So when you hear the word submission, think about the man who has taken the time to satisfy and I don't want to use the word satisfy because that's like one of them things that can kind of come and go. Ooh, it's just, it's kind of like happiness to me. Like, that can come in a second and go in an instant. And so, but it's a state of being is what you're looking for. You're looking for a state of being. So if he's not, you're thinking about the man who's fulfilling you, the man who is showing up as a man, as a responsible party in the relationship, as someone who has taken the time to get to know you, someone who is investing in you. And so that's investing his time, investing his money, investing his energy, investing did I say mind? I think I said time. He's investing his mind into you. He's investing in you. He's wanting to get to know you. There is something about you that is drawing him, and he's treating you differently than he's ever treated any other woman. And so that's the man who you think about submitting to when you think about submission. And submission to me is simply honor. If you cannot honor your husband, if you cannot honor the man who has taken the time to be a man to you, then you don't need to be with anybody. And you don't need to walk around here acting like you are the frustrated woman, just like the next woman who is waiting for a husband, because you are in another group of women by yourself. You're not in the group of women who really is trying and want to submit to and be with a husband and that she's ready to be a wife. You're not ready to be a wife if you're not ready to honor your husband. And with that comes respect. You're willing to talk to him like he's somebody. You're willing to consider his history. You're willing to consider who he is as a person. You're willing to consider his flaws. You're willing to understand that he's just a man, that he's not some supernatural being who can meet every one of your needs whenever, however, wherever you want them to be met. But you understand who he is as a person. You understand what he brings to the table. You understand how he treats you. And you're considerate. You're caring. And even if something's not going right, you're willing to have a conversation. You're willing to ask questions to find out where he's at. What is it that he needs? What he wants? What's the problem? What's going on? Instead of saying, oh, man, girl, I don't know about him. He always this. He always that. What did you ask him what? No, because I already know how he feel. I already know what he gonna say. I already know how he gonna think. I'm just so disgusted. That's not honor. That's not honor. There's a way to vent to a friend. And then you don't just vent and talk to everybody. There are certain people who you are willing to allow that part of you're willing to allow in that part of your life. But it's not for a lot of people. A lot of people shouldn't even understand and know what you're dealing with. It should just be a select people. Someone close to you, someone who's not biased, someone who is reasonable, someone who is not going to take, well, I said bias, so, there shouldn't be taking sides. Despite the relationship that you guys have, despite that they may have met you first or met him first, they're willing to be fair. And they're fair because you have seen how they show up. You see how they respond to the person in their life. You see how they talk, their communication. You see, the respect and the honor that they show people, that they show their partner or just people in general. Because, you want somebody who is balanced. That's the person you want to talk to. And so just sharing your business with any and everybody is just not wise, even if the frustration is high, but you're still being mindful of who you're talking to, a pastor or a minister or someone who, is has a relationship with the Lord. And like I say, somebody who can speak to the situation, who can help you make a wise decision and think about what you're doing. Think about how you're doing it. Think about what he's doing. Think about how he's doing it. Not just trying to say, man, girl, if I was you, honey, I think I'll divorce my husband. Girl, if I was you, I just think I'll just give him whatever he want, whatever he need, when and how he need it. I mean, be happy you got a man. You don't want nobody who just one extreme or the other extreme. No, you want somebody who is able to, what did you say? Well, what was he doing? Have you considered that he may have been tired? Did you consider that he may have a lot going on right now? What did you do to help alleviate some of the stress? Oh, well, maybe you might want to do that first and then let's see, see how things go. Or, have you asked him, can we sit down and have a conversation? That's the kind of person. You don't want someone who is one-sided. And so anyway, you're submitting means honoring. It means that I understand that in this marriage, in this relationship, you are, and like I said, marriage, because that's who you want to submit to, a marriage. And you are going to start honoring the person. There's going to be a level of honor that you're still going to give someone who you are committed to. And so, because at the end of the day, y'all, I mean, hey, do you expect someone to just want to marry you and there are no signs of you being a caring woman at all? You just want to be this beast, and he hoped that you turn into a delicate flower once y'all get married. He hoped you turn into the woman who, behaves as a princess once y'all get married. So, I mean, you still have to show a kind and pleasant, polite nature before getting married. It's just that, fellas, hey, listen, don't expect for her to be cooking for you every night. Don't expect for her to have to cook for you. If she's cooking and you happen to be over there, then you can eat, but to expect for her to cook for you and come to your house and clean your house and wash your clothes and, expect for her to be this domesticated partner because that's what you feel that you need and want, because that's what society has told you that a woman should be, and then the society in which you're talking about is things from the past. It was a way of living in the past. And now, don't get me wrong, I am traditional as they come. However, common sense, just reality, just the way, change and evolution. When I'm talking about evolution, I'm just saying things shift and they adjust and they change and they modify and they, graduate and, things is just not how they used to be. There's a different way of life now in 2023 is all that I'm saying. So, yeah, you may have situations into where you're going to have one partner being the stay-at-home person, and there's still a whole lot of traditional aspects within the relationship. However, that's just not going to be majority of the relationship dynamic these days. I mean, and so we just have to understand that and know what it is that you want and you need, but be reasonable. I mean, some people are just being so totally unreasonable when they think about a woman submitting to them. It's like you're wanting her to be your puppet. You're wanting her to be this. You're treating her like she's nobody and nothing. And then you're saying, and the thing about it is these young guys who's saying, I'm going by what my grandmother, how my grandfather treated my well, let's sit down and have a conversation. How did your grandfather treat your grandmother? Did you see it? Because some of them, they see the woman where she has, let's just talk about it like this. My grandmother loved my grandfather. And he ate first. If she cooked, at one point in time, we could not eat until he came home and cooked. And I don't care what time that was, he had to come home and eat first. Then she adjusted and she would cook and she would make sure that she fixed his food, and his food was fixed before anybody else's food was fixed. Because, he came home at different times. And my grandmother honored her husband. I mean, she wasn't the best wife, she was a good wife, but she wasn't the best at, to me, showing honor in that. Yeah, she showed him honor. Yes, she did, but she said what she had to say to him. Put it like that. Like, he was not going to run over her in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Just wasn't going to happen. But she still took things from him. My grandfather cheated on her. He went and lived and moved in with a whole nother woman. That hurt my grandmother. But she never moved on with another man. She never stepped out on him. She never did any of those things. And even when he came back, she still was right there and treated him the same way. There was no, they arguing all the time. And every time she wake up and every time she saw him, there was an argument or altercation between them or whatever, just because he did what he did. That's not what she did. And so my grandmother, she honored her husband. And like I say, she took all that. Well, don't expect that a woman in 2023 is going to take you walking out and going and creating a whole different family, and then you can still come back to her and everything be the same as how they were when you left. That's not going to happen that way. And if that's what you're looking for, then you need to be single and you need not to be with anybody, because you cannot just treat anybody any kind of way. And to the men who don't want to get married, stop expecting a woman to submit to you and honor you. You are not desirable to be honored or submitted to. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I'll say it today. I'll say it tomorrow. I'll say it to your face. I'll say it behind your back. I'm not scared. I'm so silly, but I'm serious. I will say it. So if you want to have that conversation or that discussion, I'll do that with you all day long. But I disagree that a woman deserves that you deserve any honor at all. She should not have to do it, and you just be wasting your little time. She shouldn't even be giving you the time of the day. Yeah, I said it. She shouldn't even be giving you the time. And she definitely shouldn't be giving you her body. Ladies, if a man tell you he does not want marriage, and that's not the order and the life that you live, you should not be giving him your body. And I'm saying it that way because some women probably don't. They also, that's the I don't even really know of any women like that. But if you are, listen, that percentage of women, it is very small, in my opinion. I don't have the statistics. No, I don't. But I can almost guarantee that percentage is small. Because this is the thing, ladies. Some of y'all will say, I'm okay with not wanting to be married. I'm okay with that. Y'all say that. But that is short-lived. That is short-lived. That is not what you really mean in your heart and hearts. You might feel that way for a second and a moment and an hour and a day. But that is not going to be what you want for a lifetime. So you can tell this man that, and you can try to tell yourself that, but I assure you, sister, you're lying. You are lying to yourself and you're lying to that man. And this is the thing. If that's how they feel and that's what they want, they're going to accept you saying that. Even if in the back of their mind they know, man, women don't usually say that. Women don't usually feel that way. But hey, she's beautiful. She says she's down with it. So cool. and y'all have babies together, y'all have this life together. And he meant what he said. He don't want marriage. He meant that thing. And yet, in the back of your mind, you're hoping that your sex appeal, you're putting it down in the bedroom, you're being a good cook, you're, being in his presence, and y'all building this life together will just somehow one day cause him to change his mind. If you want marriage and he don't, please don't waste his time nor your time. It is not beneficial. Listen, you have to be with the person who you want to be with, who's treating you with respect, who's treating you with kindness, who's treating you with courtesy, who's showing you love, who is sacrificing for you. And no, I'm not, there are levels to this thing of sacrifice, in dating, but he's considerate, he's compassionate. You're doing the same thing, That's the person you want to submit to. That's the person you want to see yourself committing to. That's the person you want to think about committing to. Submitting to. And so, which will be the person you commit to, because you're going to commit first before you submit. And so that simply means that's the person you're going to honor. You're going to honor him as your husband. You're not going to talk about him behind your back. You're going to consider what he's saying to the structure or to the ideas and the thoughts that he have concerning the family, concerning business, concerning how things are done. Y'all are being able, and then brother, you got to be willing to also have a discussion, because you got to also remember, this is 2021. Women are smart. Women have education. Women know things. Women have been exposed to things. So a lot of times in these days, especially now, see, back in the day, women didn't have that kind of education. Women didn't have, so they depended on their husbands. Their husbands had more of the knowledge and the education and the understanding of how things work and the world work and how systems work. They knew more of that. So that is also why the submission level was different. That picture was different. What you saw your grandfather and grandmother, how you saw them handle the relationship was different than what it is now, because women are educated. Women are having to be independent. And even in a marriage, she is her own individual person, and you have to understand that. So also, a wise man, a leader, knows the talent that he is leading, that he is overseeing. He knows those skill sets, and he's willing and able to allow that person with those skill sets to operate in that area in which they're good at. So that means that if your wife is good at something, your wife is educated in something, she's experienced in the area, you're going to ask her for her opinion. You're going to consider her opinion. You're going to consider her thoughts. Y'all are going to be able to sit down and have a conversation in order to figure out, what do we do? How do we do it? When we're going to do it, and all those things. And guess what? People, this is the type of relationships that you want. This is the idea of a relationship that y'all want, but y'all not willing to do it. You're not willing to submit to that level of relationships. And that's what you need to be doing. You're worrying about what the white man and the white woman and how their relationship is. Well, how about you get with it and you try to have the type of relationship that you are looking for, that you want. Don't talk about it, be about it. So what you gonna do? Yeah, I might have a level getting a little bit rowdy. But it's that's where I'm at. We gotta do better. Sisters and brothers. BROTHAS. Okay? So yeah, I've given and put in some time in this. I hope y'all hear what it is that I'm saying. Today is the day. What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Well, that's all I have to say about that. That's my little piece. Again, I'm Naima Adera. Until next time, be blessed.